Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the Level Up podcast, where you learn how to go from agent to entrepreneur. We are off the chain today because Greg Harrelson is out of town. He's out of country. And so it is me and our wonderful guest, Allison, is with us today. We're going to talk all about team culture and really fostering a supportive team environment, what it takes to build a team that you're really happy with, that supports the lifestyle that you want to lead. We'll also talk about some of the challenges of working in a resort market, and we'll have Allison explain kind of what that means and what her market looks like, and how to build and run a successful team in that environment, which is very similar to what Greg does out in Myrtle Beach. So first of all, Allison Simson, officially welcome to the Level Up podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I think, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what the team looks like now. And you've been in business for 15 plus years. I know you started off so as most of us do, but tell us kind of who you've surrounded yourself with.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So right now I have a team of 8, and it's always kind of hovered around between 5 to 8. So we're a boutique firm, and we have a great location here in Summit County. And yeah, I started as a single agent, and very quickly realized that if I was going to level myself up, I was going to need to have some help. And so hired my first assistant, as most people do, kind of not knowing what that person is going to do. And so I shared an assistant with another broker, a friend of mine. We said, God, we both need some help. Let's do this. And so we hired Kelly, and he was, we split him, right? She had him 2.5 days. I had him 2.5 days. And that worked really well for a while until we both got a little busier. And so then we kind of split up, learned some good lessons from that, and figured out how to kind of keep moving forward. And then I had the opportunity. I had you say, who did I surround myself? I was very lucky in my office. There was a woman who was very successful and had a huge book of business, and she just became a real mentor and friend of mine. And it started really because I just finally asked her, how do you get so many listings? And she said, nobody's ever asked me that. And I thought, they haven't? I can't believe no one's ever asked you that. So I asked her that, and she was just more than happy to help me. So that's kind of a good little reminder is ask for help. So she was very instrumental in helping me, and we became dear friends. And then she opened up her own brokerage. And then when she got ready to retire, she asked me if I wanted to take over. And I did. And I've never looked back. That was in 2005. And so it was sort of, I inherited a team that was smaller than it is now. And one of the things I thought is, this is going to be a piece of cake because, this team is already, they're already flying at 30,000 feet. I just need to get on board. But what I kind of failed to realize was that I really needed to be in a rocket ship to get up to catch the plane. So there were a lot of learning curve things that I did, but I feel like it was the best thing I ever did. So, since 2005, I've been the team leader and the rainmaker, and keeping the plane flying, so to speak.
That's awesome. You've got. Tell us a little bit about the agents that you have on the team now. I'm sure they were a little bit different from the team that you inherited, but now you've got some support staff, and you've got really like a handful of really great agents that do mostly buyer sides, right?
Yeah, and I've got. I would say the structure of the team is very similar. We haven't really changed that very much. I have one broker who's with me that was with Joyce, was with the woman before me, that's still with me, and she's the senior buyer specialist, but she also works a lot with her own sphere of influence, and her past customers come back to her when they want to sell and list their properties with her, and that works really well for us also. So I've got a total of 4 buyer specialists, and that take all the leads. I don't work with buyers except for a few, maybe dear friends that might come through, but mostly I've set it up that way because that gives me a little bit more freedom and flexibility. I've got a transaction coordinator that we all work with, and she works off-site. She's not in the office. And she's great, and that works. Actually, I used to have transaction coordinator in the office, and I would say it was really great when she moved out, or when we switched and got a new one that worked from home. And I always was sort of hesitant and skeptical about that, but it's great. It just lowers the drama. It lowers the talking in the office. It just helps everyone really, truly focus on their specialty and what they're good at. So.
Interesting. Okay, so basically the only people showing up to the office are the agents, and then you've got like your weekend admin that I'm assuming rolls in and handles the phones and stuff like that.
And I've got an operations manager too.
Okay.
who's here every day with me, and she does the operations, right? She does everything and really works with the sellers, and she serves as a listing coordinator as well.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. So let's go through just kind of how you guys got to be. You mentioned that you're the rainmaker, you're handling most of the listings, and then you've got the buyer specialist. So tell the folks a little bit about where the leads that those buyer specialists are working, where are they coming from?
Yeah. Well, and we're very good at tracking. That, I think, is so important to keep everyone accountable. And one of the things we talk a lot about is, tracking the leading measures, not just the lagging measures. The
Right.
lagging measures being the closed and the final deal, but we really track not only the leads and where they're coming from, but how many leads is it taking to get to an appointment? How many people are you getting in your car? And then how many people are you actually writing contracts for, and then how many are those going through? So our leads, we've got 60%, maybe it's 50 to 60% that are referrals and past customers that are coming back. Sure, we get internet leads, and we spend money, not a ton of money, on Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com and Homes.com. They help us out. They give us leads, and we scrub those as well. And the other piece of our puzzle is that because we're in a resort market, most of our sellers don't live here. I don't need a lot of them. I talk to them on the phone, and via email. But so we do a lot of direct mail still, and I say a lot. It's not every month, but every other month probably. So
Okay.
I know people say, oh, you've got to reach out every 20 minutes, and we just haven't found that that's really as necessary as it's more annoying to people than it is really necessary at some point.
Okay. So still doing direct mail and still and helping your agents by tracking, and you mentioned the leading indicators. What is the way that you kind of keep like a regular meeting schedule with those agents so that you're revisiting those leading kind of measures consistently over time, and how are you coaching them to get better at those things?
Yeah, great question. I guess it starts with the culture. It starts with the culture of, and you hear that all the time. Have a great team culture. Have a strong, positive culture. What is that? Well, it's basically just the attitudes and values, and how people come together and how they're flowing. Is it a safe space where people can talk about their failures or their questions or things that are or are not working for them? Is it a safe space? And we really start with making sure it is, and going through the core values and the mission statement, all that stuff that is so important. So that's kind of that's way leading indicator, right? Is making sure that that we're all connected that way. So then we call it a whiteboard, and it's basically kind of you could think of it as a dashboard, but everyone has their own whiteboard that basically you put your prospects on one side, and then they work their way over to the closed side, which is on the right side. So, and you've got the dollars that you anticipate that they might be buying or selling that's included there, and how much money you might make. So it gives you, a little bit more of a picture, a little bit keeping people visual. Everyone's tracking that all the time. We do meet every week, and I would say we meet for an hour and a half, sometimes longer if we've got projects that we're working on, and we all really enjoy each other and really enjoy spending time together. So that meeting, while it is a little bit longer than team huddles that you typically hear about, we just really like it. We go through all the contracts and really talk about, how many leads did you get? How many appointments did you have? Did you have any trouble getting appointments? How are you what is your conversion rate? And once a month we go through the actual metrics. Everyone reports the metrics and talks about where exactly they are, and is this meeting your goals, and are you getting there?
And so, and all these meetings are kind of as a team, like kind of, so in other words, everything is in public in front of all the other agents, right?
Yeah, we all come into the office. So
gotcha. Perfect. Okay. And just to clarify on the lead gen, so you guys have had your website since what, 03, 05?
Yeah. 03 is when it started.
Yeah. So you guys get a lot of just kind of natural organic search traffic
Yeah.
for the listings that are in your area, not only for your own, but also for the other listings, and that helps generate the buyer leads that those buyers agents are working, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that was part of the dynamic of the internet was the longer your site was around, the higher it was going to be on the rankings. But that's true. So, if you're thinking, oh, I need to change my site or change my domain or change something, be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure
Yeah.
that that is, wait a minute. Don't do that without really doing some research and figuring out if that's really the best thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agreed. So let's go back a little bit to when you first took over and kind of inherited this team, right? So it
Uh-huh.
wasn't a team where you had necessarily handpicked the people. You were
Yeah.
just kind of dipping your toe into figuring out how to even create a culture and how that group of people rolling into an office every day does create its own
Yeah.
culture. So you mentioned that there were some lessons and you had kind of had to like jump on a rocket ship to catch up to this team that
Yeah.
was essentially already moving, right? And then
Yeah.
you're expected to now take over and lead. What are some of the interesting things that you feel like you learned and then
Yeah.
were able to take into the next iteration of the team?
Yeah. Um, That's a good question. And
That's a
there,
big question. Yeah.
yeah, there's a big question. Yeah, I do. I was saying that the plane was flying very well at 30,000 feet, and I had to be rocketed up to the plane, and there was some learning. I think, I tried in the beginning to really take a little bit of a back seat and see what the team was doing, see what the culture was doing, and I, you know, some of the people were here were people I liked everyone just fine, but I found fairly quickly that we had some differing values and differing ways that we thought work should be done and how it should be done. And I sat back and I wasn't strong enough in my own leadership to say, hey, you know what, this is the way I feel like we need to be going.
Yeah.
Or this is a way that I feel like our culture can be stronger. So there was some attrition, and it was fine. At the time it was hard, when people leave and you're like, oh, what are you doing? But I was glad that they were leaving in a way. It was okay, because it wasn't my team. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. And the one woman who's been with me this whole time is fantastic, and we do align very closely, and we challenge each other, and we don't always agree on everything, but we are aligned in our core values and what we really feel like we want of helping people and being of service, which is really important to me more than focusing on how many deals did you do. And I've always been one that says, hey, how many families did you serve? How many
Right.
how many people are you working with? Because that always has resonated more with me, and I feel like that's what this business is really about. So
Yeah. Yeah, which and that is that in itself is a value statement, right? It's a statement of what you value more, whether it's the deals or the people.
yeah,
And I heard somebody say once, when it comes to relationships, and this applies to both, romantic relationships and business relationships, that it's a lot easier to get along with folks, and it's a lot easier to have a long-term relationship when you share the values, but your personalities are different, right? So
yeah.
introverts, extroverts, or thinking,
Mhm,
feeling,
mhm,
like all those
mhm.
things. Like it's nice to have like that dynamic where you have
Yeah.
different personalities, but the values have to, for the most part, be aligned.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's, yeah, it seems like that's it. I think one thing that's tough for team leaders, and it seems like you found out the hard way, is that you can roll into a group of people, or you can build a group of people around you where your
mhm,
personalities mesh, and so
yeah,
everything looks like it's going good at first, but underneath that, then you
yeah,
start to dig into the values and you realize, oh, wait a minute, we're in conflict. So then it starts to affect everything else, and you realize, okay, we gotta part ways. We may get along, but that's not
yes,
enough.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Values are more important.
so true. And building a good, strong, positive culture in a team is more than just collecting a bunch of people that are just like you. That's
Yeah.
that was a hard thing for me too. Is that, oh wait, I need people that are different than me. We do we definitely personality test everyone now who comes in this
Do you really?
office. Oh yeah, yep.
Well, just out of curiosity, what are you? Because I'm assuming you're talking about like a disc or a
Yeah,
or
yep. The DISC is what we do, and I'm an ID.
a
I
ID.
try to
Okay.
make my D a little stronger. I'm really mostly I, but
Yeah.
I try to my leadership self. I know I need to make that a little bit stronger,
Yeah.
and we do that with all of our. We all have tested that way. We all know what each
Mm.
other what the personality types are in the office. You know,
Yeah,
and I
that's
know
huge,
that,
isn't it?
yeah, I knew I didn't always know this, but I know now that, you know, for an operations manager, I need someone who's an SC. You know, I need a cheerleader. I need someone who can support me and my I-ness, you know, like, even though I hate to admit that, but I need for someone to be like, yeah, good job. You're doing great. You know, I need that too. I think that's part of the team culture that's really cool about a team culture is when everyone feels supported and safe. And it's not just, you know, top down. It's not just the leader doing everything and making everyone feel, okay, that didn't work for me.
Right.
You know, it needs to be collaborative, and um, everyone working on making it a positive, fun space. And, you know, we spend a lot of time together, you know, not just meetings, but we have a fun club once a month where we just get together and, you know, whether we're just going out for cocktails or going to a cooking class or we go out on a pontoon boat or whatever. We're just like, okay, what's the fun club? What are we doing? Sometimes we invite the families and sometimes not. But it's just, you know, coming together and just having fun and being, you know, strengthening our values and our personality connection. So
I like it,
team
and
club,
that's
fun club, gotta love it.
definitely something I need to get better at. I have staff that's scattered all over the place to a certain
Mm,
extent, but I do have
yeah,
folks that are in my hometown that I just don't make it back home as much as I maybe would like to. So I don't see them as much. And then I do have
yeah.
my key persons actually here in San Diego, and we don't get together anywhere near as often as we could or should. And
Hmm.
that goes back to me being way too D and not enough
Yeah,
I.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
even though I show up as 99D, 99I, it's funny how those things they don't like your
That's
behavior
funny.
doesn't always
Yeah,
quite match what you test out as. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, and part of it is just not the could or should, but you want to get together, you know,
Mm,
and you say you want to. That's part of it too. Is just making it a place, setting a place where you want to, where it's fun, and you have something that, you know, is a common. Okay, we've got this project to do. One thing we did this year that was really successful for us is we did made a list of the 18 things we want, 18 in 2018. So 18 projects that we wanted to accomplish this year. And we made a bulletin board and we had little pieces of paper that for each one of those things. And, you know, here it is. I realized last month, like, you know, oh shoot, we still have a lot of things on this list that we need to get done. So we really talked about, you know, prioritizing, but it's been a lot of fun to move the little pieces of paper from doing to done at the
okay.
bottom. And it's been a real, I think it's been good for our culture. It's been good for the team to have some shared goals and some shared projects that, you know, stuff you always kind of talk about doing, but maybe just don't get around to. And, you know, maybe it's as mundane as, you know, updating the top producer plans, or, you know, maybe it's exciting like revamping the social media program, or, you know, I don't know if that's exciting or not, but it's a little bit
Oh,
more
little
jazzy than the top
a little
producer. Yeah.
sexier than jumping into top
Yeah.
producer. Yeah. Okay. So basically, so you pulled the team together. You guys came up with all this list of 18 different projects that you wanted to theoretically tackle in
Yeah.
2018. So how did you go about setting? Okay, well, who takes the lead? Who needs resources from these people? How do you give people kind of a sense of ownership so it doesn't
Yeah.
fall on you to push every single one of these projects forward?
Yeah. That's something we'll do better next year. But we've got, um,
Maybe nine projects in 2019. Maybe not
I know.
19. Yeah.
And I think, you know, having a kind of a spreadsheet where it's like, okay, here's the project, and what we did do is put dates on all of them. And
Hmm.
so at our team meeting once a month, basically a little bit more than once a month, it was okay. The project this month is to figure out how to get more Zillow reviews. And so
Hmm.
what are some ideas? Here's talk to your people. What are we doing? And then next week we came back and came up with how to put the plan into motion really. And so, you know, one of the things was we needed to order new signs. Someone volunteered. Hey, I'll do a little bit of research. I'll figure it out. We'll come in. We'll get the signs ordered. So it's kind of been a little more organic of how it happens, of who does what, but um, that's worked okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The reason I ask is I'm always fascinated because you hit the nail on the head. You kind of mentioned people talk a lot about culture.
yeah,
There's very few things. A lot of times when you listen to it, you come away with the impression that, oh my God, that person's an awesome leader. And that's like, it like exudes out of them. And you all oftentimes don't walk away with like a sense of here are two or three things that they do. that I could also do, like in my own
Mm-hmm.
business. And so
Yeah.
I always press people just to kind of break it down into, okay, how does the culture actually show up, and what do you actually do? So I like that, it actually shows up in weekly meetings, the fun club, the projects, like all those things, all of those are things where they could be very scattered, right? That
Yeah.
everybody could be working from home. You could get together kind of, well, we get together whenever we feel like it, and then you realize that it's really every 3 months.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways for that to go wrong, and there's lots of ways for the culture to just kind of
Yeah.
chug along and not really build. But you have like 3 or 4 very specific ways where you pull people together and it actually comes together like in a physical space, and you're doing things on a regular basis. So I think that helps people like really kind of get a grasp
Yeah.
on how do you actually build culture and not just talk about culture. So I love that you're doing
Yeah.
some concrete things.
Yeah. One other thing that just occurred to me that I do before our meetings on Tuesday is I'll start with like helping set an intention, or we'll do a clearing. Like, okay, if you were to give me, um, what a number of how you're doing, how your body's feeling, how you're feeling, 1 to 10 on each of those things. Where are you? And what would it take to get you to, if you're an 8, if your body's feeling like an 8, what would it take to get you to a 9? And maybe it's, oh, I missed my workouts, or I've been eating like crap, or I drank too much, or whatever. And it's just and then like yesterday we were talking about Zillow reviews. That was our thing. So we started the meeting with, okay, you've just got a killer, awesome review from Zillow from one of your past customers. What did it say? And
Yeah.
everyone was like, oh, hee, giggle, giggle. I don't know. And it took a minute to like, well, you could almost see that they were feeling, shy to toot their own horn and to sort of put it out there like, she was a rock star. It was the best transaction ever, but as soon as we kind of got going, everyone really got on board and really got into it. And I just am a firm believer in kind of setting the intention and putting it out there that's what's going to come back to you. So we do that and start the
It's a
meetings that way
very good
too.
exercise. Yeah, it's very good because it also forces you, even if it's just subconsciously, to think about, okay, what are the things that I should be doing and how should I be working on our systems to deliver that kind of a response from people, to know
Yeah.
exactly what response you want to get. I like that a lot. That's a great, that's what I would call an exponential question. It's a question that has all kinds of
Yeah.
good side effects just by
Yeah.
asking it. Yeah.
It was a great conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Love
And
that.
Honestly, it's just a clearing. It's a chance for people to get attuned to the meeting and to bring themselves in and leave the kids and the dogs and the whatnot, get that out of the room and
Yeah.
just bring their attention into the room. So
Yeah. Love
yeah.
it. Well, I
Yeah.
have two smaller questions for you about the resort
Yeah.
market and listings. Before we
Mm-hmm.
do, remind people, you mentioned Summit County. Fill people in that might not know
Yeah.
exactly where you're at, just the
Yeah.
area that you guys cover, and what's the best way to reach out and connect with you guys to send you referrals.
Okay. Yeah. So Summit County, Colorado is really basically the ski areas in Summit County. So it's Keystone, Breckenridge, Copper Mountain, Arapahoe Basin. The towns are Dillon, Keystone, Silverthorne, Frisco, and Breckenridge. And we're about a half an hour away from Vail. So we do referral work there as well, but that's all. It's kind of the ski area. And I guess the best way to reach me is just by email, and it's Allison at summitrealestate.com, and it's ALLISON at summitrealestate.com.
Yeah, that's super easy. So I didn't follow up on this when you originally mentioned it, but I'm curious, when you asked Joyce, and I think it was the gal's name, what she was
Yeah.
doing, how do you have so many listings? And because I'm curious about just the way that it is in the resort market, what did she say?
Oh yeah, so it was funny because she was taken aback and like, well, she said, I have to think about it. I want to talk to you about it though.
Okay.
No one's ever asked me that. And so but she circled right back around and said, okay, let's go to lunch. And then she shared with me mostly, this was, 20 years ago. Well, not quite, yeah, it was probably 20 years ago that we started being friends. And so a lot of it was direct mail, direct marketing, lots of mailings. And I just didn't know that was what she did and what she was doing and actually how she was doing it. And, at the time it was before they had, before you had like express copy that you could just send your list to and they would mail it. So she had someone who was doing it for her.
Yeah.
And just sort of the coordination for all of that was a big deal. And, and again, she always just said too, just asking for the business, doing your prospecting and being out there in the county and being at the functions. So when the people are even when they're from out of town, they still do the fun things that we have here and just being out and about and meeting them. And so.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And then just given the fact that you've kind of been really steeped in a resort market, but I'm sure you talk to a lot of other agents and just are friends with agents, especially in Denver, that are seeing
Yeah.
what's going on there, right? And a lot of people are in similar markets where it's just exploding. I mean, Denver is absolutely growing like a weed, pardon
Yeah.
the pun. I mean,
Yeah. And that
Denver is
too.
insane. It's insane right now. I lived there from 2010 to 2011-ish, and I got out before really the boom happened. I
Yeah.
remember what it was like before that. What do you think is unique, and what does it take to kind of succeed in a resort market that you work in versus what might work in just your
Yeah.
average growing city like Denver?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because we tend to lag behind the national market a little bit,
Hmm.
and by the Denver market, we tend to lag behind them, about 18 to 24 months. And someone once described it to me. It was like, if you're a fly fisherman and you're, casting your rod out, the end of the rod is Denver, and it takes a little while for the string to get out, the line to get out into the water, and vice versa. Like, so we just tend to lag a little bit. And part of that makes sense. Like if you're, an orthodontist in Denver and things are going really well in Denver, you're going to buy your second home. If things start not going so well, it's going to take you a while to know that before it
Time to
feels like,
sell.
okay, I'm not going to, yeah, exactly. It takes a little while for that to happen. So we tend to lag behind. We watch San Francisco, and we watch the tech markets on the Silicon Valley, because those people right now are getting priced out of San Francisco and Silicon Valley, and they're coming to Denver. They're going to Denver,
Right.
Portland, and Seattle is where they're
Yeah.
going. So we watch that, but as the market kind of dips a little bit, and Denver is starting to see a little bit of a slowdown, and
Oh, okay.
I'm keeping a close eye on that, because as things then get a little bit more affordable in San Francisco, which those prices have dipped a little bit,
Hmm.
people stay there because that's
Stay there.
really the hub and where they want to be. Some want to be, and so that causes a little bit of slowdown. So I anticipate that we'll probably see a little bit of that as well. Um, not seeing it right now, but I think we probably will. And we're not entirely, the interest rates don't really affect us very much, because over 50% of our deals are cash deals up here. But where they do affect is not so much directly,
Hmm.
but it's the confidence. So when the consumer
Yeah.
confidence, they keep hearing, oh God, the interest rate's going up, 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 even though that really doesn't affect them, they hear it, and so it sends the consumer confidence down a little bit,
Interesting.
for that resort home buyer. So this is a little bit
And
different.
that's interesting. I've never heard of just that you're so closely watching Silicon Valley. It makes sense. I don't automatically think of it like living in California. I
Yeah.
hear more about people going to Portland, Seattle than I hear about people going to Denver. But to me, that makes sense because I love the area.
Hmm. Yeah.
Given that, do you go out of your way to like build relationships or make sure that you go to agent events like Inman in San Francisco to try to meet as many agents in that area and generate referrals, or does that kind of happen organically over the years?
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's organic mostly. Um, I that's a great idea. Should I focus there? Yes, I do try to focus on those agents when I meet them other places.
Yeah.
But Inman's an awesome one. And, I like the Real Estate Success Rocks with Patrick Lilly. I don't know if you know about that one, but it's a great conference that I've been involved with for years. And Star Power before that with Howard Brinton. So I know lots of people all over the place. And
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very, very
So,
cool. We
so
have we
yeah,
have other things to talk about. I'll share some stuff after the live broadcast
okay.
about that. Just some commonalities there. But I love it. So it's Allison at, was it Summit Valley Real Estate
Summit
dot com?
Real Estate, no vowels,
Summit
just
Real Estate. Okay.
Summit Real Estate. Yeah, because I'm in
Summit Real
Summit
Estate.
County. Yeah.
Perfect. That's what it was.
So
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. And then, so anybody that's watching here on Facebook, first of all, I just want to thank you, obviously, and then make sure to go leave a rating and a review for the show. And if you enjoyed Allison's episode, make sure to give her a public shout out in the review and thank her for her time and her
Thank
contribution.
you.
I know everybody misses Greg on the show. He'll be back with us next week, and you can always reach out to Greg on Facebook. So he is extremely responsive. Maybe not so much when he's in Italy, but normally he's very responsive through Facebook Messenger. So any questions that you have for him, you can always reach out to him through Facebook. With that being said, Allison, thank you so much, and everybody that joined us live. I really appreciate everyone's time, and we'll see everyone on the next episode of Level Up.
Yeah, thanks a lot.